Now sit back and prepare to be entertained. Welcome back to the Dripping Bucket podcast. Today, we being Krystle Matar and myself, some guy, are joined by editor extraordinaire, who I only recently learned their name is Richard Shealy rather than Shecky, which is
it's Shecky.
I thought it was Shaggy, but I mean, what the fuck do I know? Who has edited for kind of everyone who's anyone in the science fiction and fantasy world. So, Richard, thank you for joining us.
Pleasure to be here. Thank you.
And a true member of this industry, when we try to compliment you, you roll your eyes and uncomfortably shift to dismiss the compliment. So that's how we do know you're one of us.
How many times have we heard the horror stories about a bad copy edit? Or at least an uncomfortable copy edit?
Oh.
The kind of thing where I'm just kind of, oh God, I hope I'm never associated with that kind of thing.
Yeah. Does it ever feel like when that stuff comes up, are you ever like, you people need to settle down? You're giving our profession a bad name.
Okay, I can't officially say anything, but
okay,
right.
That's fair. We'll pivot back to the real questions. Go ahead, Fletcher.
I was gonna say, how about let's start off. Tell us a little bit about what you do, like how you got started, how you wound up in editing, how you wound up almost, from what I saw on your site, like almost strictly science fiction and fantasy editor, which sounds like clearly the coolest kind of editor possible. Obviously. So how did you get to where you are today?
Okay. Jar Jar Binks.
Okay.
I'm not exaggerating much. I started out in undergrad in physics and then doubled my major into French. Yeah, we're still nowhere near it, are we? Went to grad school. I was teaching French for about a decade and then moved into translating. But all this time I was reading science fiction, fantasy, some horror, a little bit of this, a little bit of that, but primarily science fiction and fantasy. And I got to be a beta reader, and I was griping about my job to a friend one day, and they said, well, don't the publishing houses pay people to do what you're doing for this writer for free? The light came on.
Yeah.
And so I started to look into it and said, this is really up my alley. And then I found out what most people generally don't know, and this is not some kind of hipster. Most people don't know this. No, nobody would have any reason to know this. The difference between being called an editor and a copy editor is the dev editor or content editor or substantial editor, whatever you want to call it. The big picture editor is the one who looks at, the big picture. Looks at how the characters work. Is the plot working out? How is the flow? How is this going to reach the audience? Whereas a copy editor is what most people in the general public think of when they hear the word editor. They think commas. They think typos. They keep all that kind of thing in mind. And that's what a copy editor is. Okay, Milk. Hang on. I will show you the offender. She is here.
We were promised a cat, so this is good. Oh, a Tuxie. She looks just like my cat, actually.
Well, she's a cow cat, actually, which is
I'm gonna go harass
more the white than black, and she is a cow too. We nickname her Moose. You made a mess. Look at you. What are you doing, cat? Yeah, she gets jealous sometimes.
Oh, twins.
Let's see. Look, there we go. There he is.
Oh,
there's
nice.
Yeah, so this is the computer assaulter that likes to bite the corner of my laptop, but that's Hobbs.
I don't know if you could tell, but
a bit of a
Milk
cow.
is a polydactyl. She's got
she's got
big
the
paws to
six
begin
toe.
with, and then she's got the thumb
Yeah.
going on. And thank God she's too dim to know how to use her thumbs. We would be in trouble.
Yeah.
But no, she is gloriously dim. She's sitting there right now looking around. Just, you can hear the ocean if you look in her eyes.
I have the opposite problem where I'm pretty sure Hobbs is smarter than me, which is a pretty low bar for him to clear on me, but yeah, he keeps me on my toes.
Well, that's her sister. Her actual littermate, Cookies, is a tuxedo.
Oh, Milk and
Also
Cookies.
polydactyl. And I don't know how that cat has not yet figured out how to use her thumbs. She can tell time. I'm not kidding.
Yeah.
When she knows that her treats are coming at 8 o'clock, by 8:03, we're getting the buddy.
Yeah. Yeah. Yeah.
And
yeah.
she actually, one time, I asked her, give me 10 minutes. We're almost done with this episode. She reached over and pressed pause.
Oh my gosh.
I'm not exaggerating. I'm not making this up. And then she just looked at me.
You're done now.
We have a schedule to keep.
We knew from that point on she was getting her schedule kept because we didn't want our throats slit in our sleep. Brilliant cat. It's spooky.
Yeah, I feel like there's two kinds of cats in the world. There's Milk and then there's Cookies, and there is no in between. They're like, it's either a threat to national security or an open barn door and nothing else.
Well, Milk is pretty much an open barn door. There is nothing going on inside that head. We call her Moose for multiple reasons, because the only threat this cat presents is by being large. And where you'll see cats that want to knock things off shelves and play with things, she just walks along and things fall off. She's that big and just boom, doesn't notice. We got a fly swatter to try to encourage her to get off the dining table. Oh no, that became her favorite toy. Unperturbed by anything.
What a way to live, though, right? But
it's fantastic.
We were supposed to hear about how Jar Jar Binks turned you into an editor.
Oh no! My entire route was the same way Jar Jar Binks became a leader.
Oh, I see.
Just sort of pratfalled my way into it. Yes, Milk. Okay, good girl. Settle down. Excellent. Wow, I need a drink after that.
Okay.
So
that makes more sense.
A lot of authors, most of us,
have no
only
idea
have the
what to expect.
vaguest idea what a copy editor does.
Yeah.
Do you want to do like a bit of a dive into that, sort of picking apart, I guess, your process? Like how do you start? What's it like sort of going through a book for you?
Okay, the basic job is the granular level stuff, sentence level stuff. I mean, you've got your dev editor up here who handles the high level stuff. You have, in some cases, a line editor who goes for how does this sound? How does this work? How does this flow? And then you got people like me who are here making sure you've got a comma in the right place, rehoming all those feral commas.
Yeah.
Checking for the typos. Are we having internal consistency here? Is the character's fingernail polish the same color on page 83 as it is on 97? Yeah, that kind of little stuff. But given that most houses don't really do a separate line edit anymore, a lot of the line editing job has been folded into a mix that varies between the dev editor and the copy editor. So we have to keep an eye out for voice.
Rhythm a bit. Yeah.
Yeah. We try to keep voice, and I'll be honest, sometimes that is incredibly hard. Because I think I'm understanding the voice this way, but no, it's about 3 degrees off. And sometimes that can cause friction, because I'm understanding it this way, and all right, you're not going for that kind of vocal rhythm, you're going for this kind of vocal rhythm. Mm-hmm. That's another thing. There are a lot of authors who work in a more oral presentation. They want everything on the page to make you hear it. in your mind a little more. And for some
interesting.
authors, that changes the punctuation, the comma, the goddamn comma.
Yeah.
Nobody,
Does it go here?
be
Does
honest.
it go there?
Does anyone actually know where commas go? That's not a thing.
He's supposed
it's like
to know.
They go kind of wherever you go, like, that's a pretty spot for a comma. I'm going to put a comma there.
Okay. There are some
You
standards.
heard him badly. Yeah.
There are some, I'm not even standards, but the Chicago Manual of Style, you've heard of that, right?
Yes.
That's not even the one that most copy editors work with. It's one called Words into Type, which is from the 70s, has not been updated, but the section on commas is shockingly clear and insightful. It's like, oh, hell, that makes a lot of sense. I've been thinking this all these years. I studied linguistics, and now it makes sense. Now it does.
Words into type. All right, I got to look that up because...
Well, we're going to have to look up the
It's out of print.
No.
They bring it back every now and then, but you can usually find somewhere on some of the weird esoteric sites. But once I read that, I said, okay, this makes a lot more sense. And it still doesn't apply to everything.
Yeah.
When
I know
you bring
commas...
voice into the mix,
that
changes it. So
there
are rules, and they usually get ignored.
My favorite story about commas and my copy editor was that she and I hadn't interacted very much before she edited for me. I found her through an agency. And so she went through my manuscript, and she correctly diagnosed me with ADHD because of how I used commas. Like, apparently there's a specific label for the way that I use commas. I don't remember what it is. If I was intelligent,
it insane?
I would have looked it up. Yeah, probably. But it's common in her clients that have ADHD where they have them in certain places for rhythm to denote the rhythm at which the words are intended to be said, and they're in there for certain dramatic pauses. And she left a certain percentage of my ADHD commas in my text because she felt in the right places they were allowed to live. And so I had no idea what to expect from a copy edit when I hired my first copy editor, and that's kind of my favorite story to tell people.
That's a nice one. That's a good copy editor.
Yeah, I'm quite fond of her. Yeah, so she does the profession well.
Speaking of expectations, when a sort of a writer gets their book baby back from you after you've sort of like, stabbed and butchered it for however long that takes,
and moved 100,000 commas,
or removed them, what can people sort of typically expect? What are they getting back? What sort of shape is their sort of bloody and battered book baby?
Well, not to dodge a question, but I'm going to dodge that question because it varies vastly from one author to the next, often from one series to the next, and from one book to the next. Let's be honest.
Yeah.
But then you have people who are very consistent in how much and what kind of adjustments need to be made, what kind of comments need to go into the margin. Like I just finished my 88th collaboration with one self-publisher, Glenn Stewart, and he is super consistent. Shout out to you, Glenn. This is this is a happy relationship.
I've actually been talking with him after discovering him on your site and seeing like all these books, and I'm like, how have I never heard of this guy? So I've reached out to him, and I think I'm trying to get him on next week.
Oh, cool.
Good. Do so. You will be a very Canadian crew then, and that's a good thing. He's a good guy.
There's a lot of us in SFF. We're kind of the stealth squad of science fiction and fantasy as Canadians.
Well, you guys are everywhere, and you don't make much of a fuss typically, so that tends to make things welcome.
Mostly potty trained.
Mostly. You're doing better than the host down here.
Is that an admission, Fletcher? Like, do we need some support for you, or is everything
Probably.
okay?
I'm getting old. I need my Depends. All right. So now that we don't really know what kind of horrendous murdered thing they're going to get back,
Yeah.
when does an author, when is a book ready to be sent to a copy editor like yourself? And what do you see that's like, okay, this wasn't ready? What are the sort of like the signs that you're not ready?
Okay. First off, dev editing, content editing, substantial editing, whatever you want to call it. Get the story straight so you're not going to be changing vast swaths of text after the copy editor sees it, because then it needs to be done again.
Yeah.
Because we're the only nerds who focus on this stuff enough to remember, oh, we have to apply this and this and this and this. It's going to have to be looked at again. It's not saying, okay, give me more money, but do you want this consistent?
Yeah.
Hey, that is really what the copy editor is supposed to bring to the table.
It's consistency.
Impose the consistency that the text itself is supposed to try to do.
Yeah.
What is the author's intent here? How are we going to make that consistent? When and why do we need to break that consistency?
Yeah.
Sometimes it's guesswork. It depends. But primarily the story itself needs to be done. It needs to be run through by some kind of professional eye, and that needs to be as squared away as it's going to get, so that we janitors can come in and sweep up all those spare commas on the floor.
Yeah.
That's about the size of it.
All right. I know for myself as a self-published author with limited budget, I tend to, for me, it's always when I have given up on the book, when I've done everything I can and I just want it out of my brain. That's when it goes to
rewriting. I'm tired of rewriting this conflict. That it's as good as it's going to get. 6 beta readers said 6 different things, and I give up. I'm over it now. And now we're going to go figure out the commas. Yeah.
You have no idea how many clients have said, all right, I'm sick of this fucking thing. Here, deal with it.
It's your problem now.
And I'm quoting more than one.
Yeah, I believe it.
Get off of that.
I would put that saturation at probably like 90% of us are just like, I'm done.
Not yours.
It's your problem now.
Yeah, I've heard that variant too. Your problem, bye. I don't want to hear from you for another week.
Yeah. It's always, and then the editor sends your book back and you're like, fuck, I have to look at this again? Like, God damn it. I know at least once I just sort of went, agree to all. Dare I? Like,
I was going to say, I've heard that.
I couldn't.
It's primarily with repeat clients who I know their style, they know my style, and they know what they can and can't accept without seeing, which is why with you have the actual edits in text, and then you have the comments in the margin, the standard Microsoft Word thing, and you learn the balance between those two by author, by text, and with me, typically I don't put something as an adjustment in the text until I am 100% sure this is the way it's supposed to be. Anything less, I'll put a comment in the margin. Was this intentional? Were you going for X or were you going for Y in this? And if I have enough of a connection with the author, I'll ping them directly, send a direct message or an email or what have you, and say, look, this is showing up in a lot of different places. Let's go ahead and get it dealt with, and that way we can be on the same page, and I won't have to leave all this work for you to do.
Or copy paste 60 different comments of, is this what you intended again? Or Yeah.
Oh, a perfect example. The most recent project, Space Opera. if I say in the science fiction context, G, do you know what I mean?
Gravity.
Yeah, gravity
The
force.
Earth's
right?
gravitational constant specifically. How do you write it?
You're getting too intelligent for us, my friend.
Okay,
Sorry,
I've got
continue.
a little cheat here because as I said, one of my undergraduate majors was physics.
Yeah.
It's the standard in physics is to write it as a lowercase italicized letter G.
Oh,
Okay.
shit.
A lot of science fiction, however, kept it in
They don't.
Roman and wrote it out as a word for the sound G-E-E.
Really?
Here we are at one G,
Okay.
G-double-E. And for this author, I had been going with that one for a while, but he happened to see something online where NASA does this, and yeah, that's the kind of
Yeah.
picayune, picky nonsense that is our job. This is what we do.
Yeah.
Excuse me a moment.
Yeah. I'm just realizing I always went with the capital G.
Yeah,
and I have no idea why.
That's
probably saw it in a book.
Yeah, you probably saw it in a book. The book probably had a copy editor who hadn't
decided not to fight about it.
Hadn't encountered physics directly before, other than by falling, and didn't look it up quite the right way. And honestly, anybody you know whose job involves research, it's not just knowing a thing, it's knowing how to look it up and distinguish between the different sources. Like if you're looking up, again, that letter G for Earth's gravitational constant, you got to know what you're looking up, where to differentiate it from other things so you arrive at the right conclusion. But we're research nerds. We don't know a lot of things, but we look them up.
We know how to look them up, yeah.
And if anything, research, I swear it's getting harder. There's just more and more incorrect shit out there. And the so-called AI is not making it easier. Like now your first Google result is them letting their AI take a wild fucking guess at the answer. And if you don't know that it's actually wrong as often as it's right, I swear a lot of people are looking at that going, oh, here's my answer. Good. Roll, and they're not reading the actual results that occur afterwards. Drives me fucking nuts.
I think the comment on like knowing how to look it up is so relevant to me specifically because for some reason I'm really bad at it. And about half the time that I look for an answer on the internet, I can't find it, and I get really pissed off and irritable, and then my husband's like, well, what do you need me to look up now? And it's like, I need to find out this I don't know, the etymology of the word, I don't know. And one second later he's like, here it is, and he's just changed one word in the search bar.
Bingo.
And he immediately has it makes me so angry, except that it's so useful that by instinct he just knows what to ask. So
I have a nosy question. Is your husband older?
No, he's younger than me by 5 weeks.
Because I was about to say
that the cradle.
That typically goes with old fucks like me who came up using card catalogs.
Oh, interesting.
And knowing how to look for specific keywords and choosing which word, that was an art. That was always an art.
Yeah.
And it's coming back, damn it, because of Google.
Well, the funny thing about him specifically is he's not particular, like he's not a big reader. He's not like an information nerd in the same way that I am. It's just all of the stuff that I need are so far outside of his latent personality, and yet somehow he just has this instant instinct for it where he can make Google give him the information he's looking for immediately.
Once you've learned how to use it in a manner that fits what you're looking for in a field that you're familiar with, it's just a matter of applying those approaches to
the right
everything else. And typically you can get pretty close to what you're needing. You might not be able to get the exact thing, but that's when you call a friend.
Yeah, that's what I call him.
One of the good things about all these clients is that I've got basically a stable of subject matter experts.
Oh,
You know,
interesting.
this
Okay.
narrow little field over here. Oh yeah, that's what Bill knows about, and that narrow little field over there. Oh, that's Shanna. You
Yeah.
know, somebody's
Yeah.
going to
Yeah,
know the answer.
You were looking for one of those recently, A. Fletcher. You were looking for like
Oh,
somebody about
several.
evolution?
I mean, my brain was jumping around. I went from like within a day from needing an evolutionary biologist to looking
As
for
you
someone
do.
who understood the workings of dark matter, so I could figure
As
out
you
if there
do.
was like a possibility for dark matter planets and for shit too. And you know, I found a physicist who gave me a bunch of information which honestly I didn't understand. So now I'm still looking because I'm trying to figure out.
Now you know who to ask. He's
Yeah, I'm
right
like,
here.
I have to find a less intelligent physicist or one who is more
Knows
accustomed
how
to
to dumb
speaking
it
to
down.
idiots. Yeah.
Yeah. Yeah, I think we
Yeah, a
have
physicist
candidate.
who knows how to speak to freshmen, college freshmen. There
Yes.
you go.
Yeah.
Oh, yeah, there you
It's
go.
the nice way of putting it.
Somebody who can teach. Yeah.
All right, we are hitting the sort of 25-minute mark.
Yeah,
This is when we wrap this up. This has been a weirdly educational and information-filled episode, which just
has.
awkward and uncomfortable
It's going to be
for us.
really,
I'm sorry.
really unusual for our guests who have such a low bar for us.
But thank you for hanging out with us and chatting. And if you're up for it, maybe we'll record another episode. Maybe we
around,
won't.
yeah.
I don't know.
Sure.
All right, that would be awesome.
All right, sounds good.
So
I appreciate it very much. This has been
Yeah.
enjoyable. Thank you very much for having me on.
Yeah, this has
we're
not been
going to try
painful.
to keep you. Yeah, not this time.
We'll never let him go.
We'll put him in the basement with the other ones.
Right.
On
right.
that note, we're gonna
me
sign
in
off.
front. I've got this whole bursitis thing. I can't do it behind.
Yeah, that's fine. That's fine.
Yeah.
We can work with you on that. That's fine.
Groovy.
Okay.